You're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Today is Monday, January 29th, 2024, and some of us are down bad. I'm not sure if all of us are down bad, but some of us are for sure down bad today. My name is Michael Palazzolo. My friends call me Zolo. To my right is the one and only Uncle Sam.
Hello.
And then to my left on the ones and twos, Bruce the Tugboat Venditti.
How you doing?
His real name's Augustino, in case anyone's wondered. And then last but not least, still live from Marco Island, Florida, we have the true host of the show, the one and only Samuel Randazzo.
Hello.
What do we say we jump right in? Both feet? Any luck on the chat?
Good to me. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, why don't we have a live chat?
This is going to be a tough one today. I got a feeling this is going to be a pretty grueling show.
I hope Dark Lumen doesn't think that we're ducking him because we have no chat right now.
Yeah, why isn't the chat working?
He's working on it as we speak.
So, I don't know where to start. I know you guys are going to all have a lot to say. I know where Uncle Sam... I haven't talked to Uncle Sam. I know where Uncle Sam's head's going to be on this. Sam and I talked for a second last night. I know where his head is on this. I want to hear what you have to say.
I read your bio. I agree with you.
Yeah?
Pretty much, yep.
I want you guys to go first. I'm not going to do 5 things. I kind of want to eulogize the entire season and give a little synopsis going into the off season and where things stand going into next year. I don't want to say it's as heartbreaking as it gets because we've had some pretty big heartbreaks, and I feel like I have good comparisons for this team, but I was with people who were in tears last night. I was with people who were crying. I cried for the wins. I did not cry last night because I had a different feeling. Of course, it hurts to come that far and have I think it was the second biggest lead ever. I think it was the second biggest lead ever in any championship game. And it's the first team to come back from a 14-point deficit at halftime in a championship game and come back and win. So it's a true choke job. And a lot to choke that bad.
Period.
For a choke job to happen that bad, a lot has to go into it. A lot of things have to go wrong, and it's Murphy's law. Everything that can happen will, everything that can will go wrong, and that's how it went. And before we get into the debates, is there any observations you had about the game that you want to share? Is there anything that one way or another, good, bad?
They came out physical, and they outplayed. They outplayed them for 2 quarters. And then they go into the half and they forget how to play football like they do in every fucking game that they come out of going into the third quarter. And it was just a cavalcade of bullshit. I'm not going to get on Dan Campbell. I'm not going to get on fucking Aaron Glenn. I'm not even going to get on Ben Johnson, dude, because that was a collaborative effort of garbage the second half of that game.
Is all around. And if you want to blame, I want to hear, you guys can lay into me on the field goals all you want. We'll get into that.
No,
I'm not going to do that with the field goals. I'm going to defend it the other way. But if you want to lay into Dan Campbell for not having his team prepared coming out of the second half, knowing that you have had bad showings in the third quarter in what did they had played 19 games at that point? That was their 20th game of the season yesterday. Knowing that you've had bad showings in the third quarter in 17 out of the 19 games that you played, that's if you want to blame Dan Campbell for something, blame him for that. Blame him for the fact that they couldn't get their head on straight going into the third quarter.
You know what? Listen, it was a collaboration of just fucked up plays, and plays were out there to be made, and they didn't make them. You know,
Listen,
for the most part, you let a quarterback run around there looking like fucking Steve Young, that nobody was accounting for him, and that just, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. That's Listen, it's on the players, dude. You come out with that intensity, you put forward an effort in that first half like that. Then in the second half, shit just didn't go their way. And when it started to go bad, it just tumbled out of control. They couldn't get out of their own way. Nothing that the 49ers did to win that. They did everything. The Lions fucking gave that away.
Yeah.
With that effort. They gave that away. And I'm not going to sit here and blame Dan Campbell on should he have kicked a field goal? Should he have done that? That's just bullshit, dude. He is what he is. He is what he is.
Thank you for saying that.
And it just, you know what? They had a good fucking year. They played a team that should have blew them out, and they didn't show up for the fucking first half. It doesn't matter. They're going to get their asshole punched by Kansas City. So,
oh, God.
What's that?
Dude, if you don't think...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I think they're going to get their assholes punched by Kansas City. Listen, and ain't nobody beating Patty Mahomes.
Go ahead, Sam. Don't focus on the Kansas City comments. We have 2 weeks to talk about that game.
Go ahead.
All right, number one, I get it. I get nobody wants to put the blame on Dan Campbell here. I'm going to put the blame on Dan Campbell, all right? I get it. You got there by being gambling Dan, Riverboat Dan, hit me with an 18. I get it. But you have it's different. The first one, I have no issue with it. Go for it. Have at it. Try and get something done. The second one, you have an opportunity to tie the football game. All right? Momentum had completely shifted, right? You ran roughshod through the first half of that game. The momentum had completely shifted away from you. You tie the football game. That's it. I get it. Go for it on fourth down. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to bite kneecaps. It didn't work the first time. And that's fine. I hold no grudges about the first time they went for it. But the second time, when you have the opportunity, when you have lost momentum, this team is steamrolling you and coming back at a rapid rate, you have to tie the football game. You would have regained some sort of composure at that point. Because at that point, the drop had, the miraculous catch by Ayuk had happened, the fumble had happened. You tie the football game, and you try and calm things down. Because going into that last drive down 3 versus going into that last drive down 10 versus going in down 7, you have a whole different ball game there. For the life of me, I get it. You've made your money this season and got to the point you were doing that. But this isn't week 6 anymore. You're not playing the Vikings, all right?
No, but they did that shit both of the other games. Same fucking way, dude. He coached the same way in the other 2 playoff games that they won.
Well, that doesn't mean
it was on
right.
the Campbells that they won those games.
Can I ask you a question?
But it wasn't on the Gambles that they won those games.
Yeah,
it wasn't on the Gambles.
It was him going for it all year is what put them in the position where they were in.
Can I ask you a question? I don't want to debate.
I get it, but you need to know. You need to know where you're at. It's to tie the game. It's a whole different story in any other situation. But to tie the game and regain some of that composure that they had completely lost was essential at that moment. And it was a bad call.
They had 5 possessions in the second half. 5. And one of them was a fumble.
Correct. And they didn't get
so that puts you at 4 possessions.
Right. And they didn't
went
get
3 and out.
Done. So why?
You know, it is what it is, dude.
Is there any part of you that thinks that he didn't kick because he didn't think his kicker was capable of the kick, as opposed to he didn't kick because he's gambling Dan Campbell and he wants to get the 3 yards because he know he can get it? Is there any part of you that thinks that Dan Campbell didn't believe that Michael Badgley could make the kick?
No, there's not.
Listen, Josh Reynolds catches that ball. We're not even talking about.
We're not even having the conversation.
Yeah. We're not even having this conversation if he didn't drop the ball.
So
he dropped the ball twice.
I'm with your sentiments. The first one, it's not even up for debate. It was the right decision. You had a chance to step on a team's net. The game's over. The game is over probably if Josh Reynolds catches that ball.
It is.
And in a few other instances as well, the game's over. I'll get to all of them. But the game's probably over in the first one. No problem with it. Great play call. Ball could have been a little bit better from Jared Goff, but regardless, it was in Reynolds' hands and he didn't catch it. The second one was a little bit further out. We had seen Jake Moody just do the same thing in the first half. One of the biggest momentum shifts in the first half is the Lions are up 7-0.
Yeah, he was.
And Jake Moody misses a kick, 30 yards. They get the ball almost at midfield, and then they storm down the field again to take a 14-0 lead. So, is there any part of you that thought he thinks Michael Badgley's going to miss this kick? That's why he's going for it. That's why he doesn't want to turn the ball over at midfield, because he'd rather his offense be the one, leave it in his offense's hands. One of the best offenses in the league, a top 3 offense in the league. He'd rather leave it in their hands to get the job done and not put it on the heels of his kicker in a high-pressure game where we already have a kicker that's missing kicks in this game. There's no part of you that thinks that he didn't think Badgley was going to make the kick.
I don't. Because here's the thing. If he didn't have faith in the fact that Badgley was going to make that kick, then Badgley shouldn't have been on that football team. Period. That's where your kicker needs to make his money. That's the one point where the kicker needs to make his money. And the other thing is, the game had already unraveled to a point for me where you've got to change something up. You've got to do something differently to try and slow this onslaught that you're getting hit with down. And I just think if you would have tied the game there, it would have put a tourniquet on what was going on at that point. Because the game had completely gotten out of sorts for them at that point. Nothing was going their way. Nothing was going right.
Once the crowd got into that game, they were in trouble. It was a different ball game.
And they let the crowd into the game.
They let the crowd get into that game. It was a different ball game from there.
They let Dark Lumen get back into the game.
What's that?
They let Dark Lumen get back into the game.
He sucks dick too. But you know what? It is what it is. Listen, the talent level was shown in the second half of that game. This is.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Less the talent level and more the experience was shown in the second half of the game.
Kind of. No, I would say a little bit of both.
The talent level
too. A little bit of both, dude.
But the experience is what's shown.
It's tough, dude.
You said it on Friday, Sam, where I think that Kyle Shanahan, he's going to choke the game away. I think if Kyle Shanahan hadn't had the 28-3 experience and hadn't had the 2020 Super Bowl experience choking it away and hadn't had choking against the Rams in 2021, I think if Kyle Shanahan didn't have all of those experiences put together,
they wouldn't have won that game.
I don't think they would have won that game. Because Kyle Shanahan. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No.
Go ahead. I'll go at the end. I have a lot of stuff to say.
I think Ben Johnson lost his Washington job yesterday.
Why?
Because for the life of me, I was sitting here and I was going back and forth on this today. The play calling in the second half of that football game, okay? If you're going to go for it on those fourth downs, all right? Shit. David Montgomery was gashing that defense the whole first half, gashing them, all right? When you are up that much, why are you trying to they came out of the half and tried to reinvent the wheel. A little too much for me. Keep feeding. Montgomery averaged 6.5 yards per carry. All right. And his longest run of the day was 16 yards. So it's not like he had an 80-yard run to skew things. He was getting 4 and 5 and 6 yards per carry. If you have a guy who's on that kind of heater and he had that kind of momentum, why are you not utilizing him in those fourth down situations?
Sam, you're just beating a dead horse here. This is what they did all the fucking
we're trying to talk about the game. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to break down the game.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm talking about. This is what's been going on for the last fucking 10 weeks. And every time I brought it up, everybody fucking shrugged me off. He does the same thing every fucking game, every fucking week for the last 10 weeks. David Montgomery disappears in the second half.
Don't understand it for the life of me. Could not fathom.
I can explain it to you guys right now, the David Montgomery disappearing thing. I've been saying it all year. It's adjustments. It's in-game adjustments. And the Lions always run the ball well in the first half. You know what that means? The opposing defense is going to stack the box.
How do you know that? How do you know that? They don't even attempt it.
Because usually
they don't even attempt it.
And it happened yesterday. What happened their first offensive possession the second half yesterday?
It was a 3-and-out.
It went 3-and-out because they ran twice in a row and didn't get any yards both those times.
They ran with who? It wasn't David Montgomery.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Well, that's my point.
It doesn't matter who it is.
That's my point. If you're going to sit there and you're going to line up the ball, I loved what they did. I loved the fact that they brought Dan Skipper in. They pushed Penei Sewell outside to play a tight end position, and they were fucking gashing them. And then they got away from it. They stopped doing it. I'm like, what the fuck? Do it until they stop you. See, that's fucking ridiculous. These guys overthink it. All these coaches, all these fucking offensive coordinators think they're the smartest guy in the fucking room. When it's really fucking simple, dude. You put your pad on your best fucking team attribute is your offensive line. You fucking pound the ball straight ahead with a running back that actually knows how to run in between the tackles, okay? That's not going to go down from the fucking first hit. This is a problem. They give up on this guy. They don't give him enough carries. You're giving him fucking 10 to 15 carries. He should be having 25 to 30 carries a game. That game would have been over by the third quarter.
Another problem is one of the part of the trajectory of the season changed when it started with Green Bay, when they lost to Green Bay at home on Thanksgiving. The Packers' game plan is we're just going to attack the shit out of your corners. And in 2 games in a row, 3 out of 4, because it happened to Chicago after the Green Bay, and then it happened the week after that. Or I'm sorry, it happened to Chicago the week before Green Bay, and then it happened the week after that in Chicago. These teams were winning the toss and putting their offense on the field first, which the Lions weren't typically doing. The Lions would put their defense on the field. And because their corners and their defense were getting gashed early, the Lions were playing their way out of games early on because they didn't have leads, which led to them consistently, if they won the toss, they would receive. If the other team would defer, they would still try and receive no matter what, because the Lions play better with leads. So what's happening is when you're in the second half, and this is part of the third quarter woes, when you're in the second half, if you're not starting with the ball, you're automatically down a possession. You automatically have one less possession. Whereas conversely, they're starting fast like yesterday because they're starting with the extra possession. So when your defense is more reliable and your secondary is not getting picked on, it puts you in position to maybe put your offense on the field to start or your defense on the field to start the game. Therefore, in the second half, one way they can get over the second half woes is if they start with the ball and they get the extra possession. Now, credit to them, the defense did come out. It got gashed a little bit, but it only gave up a field goal at first. But Ben Johnson Johnson never holds serve. It happened all year. I don't know when the last time they had maybe last week or last week they had a touchdown in the third quarter, right? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, it's the first time all year.
Very rarely did they have touchdowns in the third quarter. And I agree with you. They do overthink it. They do overthink the play calling. They would get to 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 from midfield to get their first drive of the third quarter, and it would be a pass play instead of running the ball to try and get the yard and doing what you're doing best. I agree that they have to do what they do best until they get stopped. And I thought they were getting in trouble on the run when there are a couple possessions in the second half, but that's still on Ben Johnson and that's still on Dan Campbell. You need to find a way. I literally tweeted it at the half. I go, listen, you've run the ball so well. You have 168 yards or something like that at the
first half
on the ground.
In the first half, and you fucking abandoned it.
On the ground.
They've been doing it every week for the past fucking 10 weeks.
So adjust to the adjustments. You know they're going to adjust to you running the ball. Figure it out. Get some quick slants open for Jared Goff so he knows he can avoid the pressure. They didn't do anything. They went after Goff like crazy. Boza made a lot of money in the second half yesterday. He actually looked like the player that we know he is.
That's because you weren't running the ball at him.
That's part of it.
That's exactly why.
That's part of it. So if they're going to adjust to it, why don't you figure out ways to make sure they're going to start going after Goff? Ben Johnson, why don't you figure out ways to protect Goff if the pressure's coming? Why don't you get Jared Goff ready?
Out of here, dude. Fuck him, dude. Fuck him. Sayonara, motherfucker. Because guess what? You fucking hadn't adjust anything all year. Fuck you. I don't care. Anybody can say what they want. Ben Johnson, goodbye. Sayonara, bitch. Because you don't know how to call a fucking game in the second half. You fucking got your head straight up your ass.
On the field goals, I'm with you. I'm happy you agree with me. It sounds like you agree with me as well.
Yep.
You can't take, and this applies to almost everyone that made an error yesterday, except for Kindle Vildor, maybe. You cannot take the good and then not take the bad. You have to take the good and the bad. So if you want to laud Dan Campbell, Dan Brass Balls, Big Balls Campbell for doing the fake punt against the Chiefs, for going for it on 4th down against the Chargers, for doing it again against the Rams 2 weeks ago, if you want to take all of that good, you have to take the bad when he doesn't convert. What you don't know is that he was 18 for 21 in opponents' territories going for it on 4th down this year. Almost every time. That's a pretty high hit rate.
Listen, you want me to tell you the truth? The only call I didn't like about him with the field goal and at the half.
Oh, you thought he
at
should
the
have
end of the second quarter? I think he should have went for it.
100%.
You got it 4th and 2.
100%.
You got it 4th and 2. Turn around, hand the ball off to Montgomery.
That's the take the points argument. That's the take the points argument.
Yeah, you go up by 3 scores there going into the half instead of 2.
Wait a minute.
And it didn't matter.
No. Yeah, but
I think you left 4 points on the table at 4th and 2. I think if you had run
17,
the ball,
14,
you had
what's
3
the difference?
timeouts. If you had gone run, and they got stuffed on one of the runs. If you had gone run instead of overthrowing Laporta in the end zone, if that's your play call, I mean, there's 4 points. You win the game if you have a 28-7 lead at the half. That's a major difference right there. So that's the counter. Like, it goes both ways. Like, women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie.
I was just shocked that he didn't go for it. I was like, all right, here we are. It's 4th and 2.5, maybe 3. And he's kind of fucking on the thing, looking at where the ball's at. And then he's like this, I'll bring the field goal team in. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Really? Come on, you're the guy. You're the guy. You just showed your team that you're kind of a cunt. Instead of fucking pounding it into their ass and really putting your foot on their fucking back, you decided to kick a field goal to make it a 3-possession game. It wouldn't have fucking mattered. There was no time left on the clock. If you don't make it, you're still up by 14, dude. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? All this bullshit, that team did not come out prepared the second half. I don't give a fuck. It was like they got complacent. They were like, this is kind of fucking easy. And that's on the guy who's running the fucking team.
And you're allowed to blame Dan Campbell for that. The field goal, I'll fight to the death on it. You are totally allowed to say that they lost because of coaching and that the team wasn't prepared in the second half. And that's on Dan Campbell. And that was a theme all year. That they weren't ready. And, you could blame Aaron Glenn. Oh, Aaron Glenn's defense gave up 27. Trust me, Aaron Glenn's defense is bend but don't break. Again, if your offense isn't going to be on the field, that means your defense is going to be on the field. And they're going to be tired. And if they give up a long touchdown drive, and your running back fumbles the first play from scrimmage at the 25, that's a big hit to your fucking defense. That is what it is.
And that gets you just about to tie the game.
Yeah. And there should be emphasis on that. There should be emphasis. There were people, me included, 100%. I was thinking, how am I going to get to Vegas? How am I going to make Las Vegas happen?
Worst choke job I've seen since the Falcons choked away a Super Bowl to the fucking Patriots.
There were people that were overlooking and thought it was assumed over, but there were 30 minutes left to play. And Dan Campbell should have had an emphasis on that. There's 30 minutes left in this game. Make a fucking play. Because the reason the first half was so good is they were making plays on 3rd and long. They were fucking going the extra mile. Jamison Williams on that reverse. They were doing the extra things to make it happen. And then all of a sudden, it was just a domino effect of the exact opposite. It started with not converting the 4th down and nothing. They got 0 football breaks from there. There was a fumble. There was Jamison Williams had a ball in his hand in the end zone that he dropped. Laporta had a timely drop on 3rd down. what's his face? Josh Reynolds had another drop.
Some of the passes were shitty.
The punt. The punt.
That one.
Jack Fox had one, like arguably the best punt I've ever seen. It was an 80-yard fucking boom, and it rolled, and it made it to the 1, and they somehow botched downing it at the 1, and you gave them an extra 24 yards to work with to go forward and score again. It was just a perfect storm of everything going wrong. And at the end of the day, we could blame Dan Campbell all we want, but you have to make, in big games, you have to make plays. That's the reason the first half was what it was. They were making plays. They weren't making plays in the second half. They were too big for the moment. Or the moment was too big for them, excuse me.
Listen, they didn't have the experience. If you looked at the little graph that they put up there, the Detroit Lions have 7 guys on their team that have any kind of playoff experience. 7.
They didn't have the experience.
The 49ers had fucking 50 of them. I mean, come on, dude. You can't even, it is what it is, dude. Listen, experience means a lot of shit. I know people think I start talking about teams that have experience, look at Kansas City. Kansas City's got more guys with playoff experience than any other team in this fucking race.
That's why it's hard to bet
right
against
now.
them.
Huh?
That's why it's hard to bet against
That's
them.
why it's hard to bet against them.
Experience
and that's why,
matters.
I mean, we could banter about this game all we want. We seen what it is. You've seen what it is. They were exposed, and I'm not joking. Offensively, they're very good. But defensively, they're fucking awful. They're awful defensively. You don't have any kind of a linebacker core here, and your corners are second corners at best. You don't have a lead corner. And when you got that kind of thing, you're at a disadvantage. So you got a defensive coordinator that's trying to scheme for this and trying to bring pressure from different angles just to stay in the ball game. So you can't fucking point the finger at your defensive coordinator at all. Who I point the finger at, and I'm not trying to be a dick here, but the offensive coordinator, it's your job to get your fucking defense some rest and to get some momentum going in this game. You have a fucking top tier offensive line, supposedly. You need to line the fucking football up and punch this team in the mouth. Because if you don't do that, then you guys made Brock Purdy look like fucking Steve Young yesterday. They were fucking, nobody could tackle in the second half. What happened with that shit?
Yeah.
First half was totally different.
On its own.
And then all of a sudden everybody forgot how to play football. And that's coaching. The bottom line is coaching.
Sam, do you have anything to add about the game before I get into the prognosis and the eulogy? Do you have anything to add that you want to say? That we just said a lot, and I'm sure you're bottled up over there.
I do. Number one, you want to give. You don't know. I mean, you have to give a ton of credit to Brock Purdy here, and that's a whole other argument. Brock Purdy did look like Steve Young at moments yesterday.
It's a whole nother
in the
show.
Second half.
It's a whole nother show.
Second half. The first half, he was absolute dog shit.
I mean, I don't think he was absolute dog shit.
I do. He was missing wide open receivers. Dog shit.
Well, you guys think Lamar Jackson's the MVP. We're going to talk about missing wide open receivers, but that's a talk for a few minutes.
You keep bantering on Lamar Jackson. He's still
that's
a lot
number
better
one.
than
Number
these
two.
other guys are that you're mentioning.
Number two, the 3 worst grades on PPF yet were 3 of the 5 worst grades.
Ooh, I know who number 1 is, and I'm happy you're going to say it because he was fucking awful yesterday. Go ahead. Can I say number 1 when you get to him?
Go ahead.
Number 1. Get to number 1. Leave number 1 for me.
Number 5, Vildor. He's a free agent after this year. Let him go. He's got no place on this team. He got burned over and over again. He dropped the pick that would have ended the game, bounces off your fucking face mask. I am sorry. Step up. Be ready for the fucking moment. Who get the second lowest grade with a 36.1. Cam Sutton.
Well, what are you grading here? I don't understand. What are you doing
it's
here?
Pro Football Talk.
You stay out of this because you don't believe in grades.
Or Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, okay.
The worst.
You mean a company that's ran by a bunch of English dudes that don't even know our game? That's a nice thing to put up.
It translates, though. It translates. It's very accurate. Are you at number 1? Can I say number 1?
I'm at number 1 with a 33.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Awful.
Who got burned endlessly, who missed tackles endlessly in the backfield, in the secondary. He missed tackles. He had Ayuk and let him go on Ayuk's touchdown pass from the 5. He was standing right there. He talked endless shit. Endless shit. Going back to 3 months on Debo, he was waving with 5 minutes to go in the second half, and he played like shit yesterday. And really, it was a tip ball against Baker Mayfield. He played like shit since he got back. We did not get our money's worth for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We did not. And he was awful yesterday.
All year.
He was there for the games that mattered, and he didn't stand out to me one iota, including yesterday, the biggest fucking game of the year.
Everybody was excited to have this guy here. Now everybody wants him gone.
I'm not saying I want him gone. I'm saying he was fucking shit. I'm saying he was horrible. Yesterday, he was very bad.
Well, why don't we talk about what was really horrible, and the reason why those guys were left out hanging on a limb is that the defensive line was dog shit the second half of that game.
Disagree 100%.
Maybe that had something to do with it. They couldn't get any kind of fucking pressure. You got a fucking little fucking 5'10" quarterback that you can't even fucking tackle because your lane, you didn't keep your fucking lanes, dude. Listen, it's a collective thing, dude. You can't expect. You knew that these corners were not that great to begin with,
which means you're
leaving them out on an island because you're dropping all your fucking linebackers into the secondary, and you're not bringing any kind of pressure to pressure this guy. And when you did, it was ineffective because you were bringing it from the wrong angles. And he killed you up the middle. He killed you up the middle of your defense, and you didn't have anybody there to fucking rectify that. And that's a fucking issue. Because you got no linebackers on this team. High school Anzalone. Once Derek Barnes went out, it was fucking over. They looked like a complete different dog shit defense. Did anybody notice that, or was it just me? Once Derek Barnes went out, they were not as effective as they were prior to him going out.
Anzalone had a pretty good game.
Now you talk about Malcolm Rodriguez's interception that fell in his lap. I get it, dude. Listen, he's a special teams guy. That's all he is. I keep hearing Jack Campbell. I don't see Jack Campbell. He's got fucking high school-itis because he's making fucking plays 30 yards downfield when he should be up at the line of scrimmage fucking thudding people. It's just fucking ridiculous already, dude. It's ridiculous. They are not talented on defense, and until they really put a serious effort to fix that, the same thing's going to fucking happen next year.
Go ahead, Sam. Keep going.
Personally, I didn't mind the linebacker play yesterday. I thought Campbell came in and filled in for Barnes I agree. I agree with him. Rodriguez came in and filled in for Barnes. I mean, obviously you were missing him a little bit, but I didn't think your linebacking core had an awful game yesterday. I thought Anzalone had a good game. If anything, they got hung out to dry by the play calling, because when they changed up that defense, and they sat back and they stopped bringing pressure. And that's when Purdy was able to run roughshod. I don't think your linebacking core is truly the issue here. It can obviously be improved. Like every aspect of the defense can be improved. But your corners were so bad, and your defensive coordinator they gave Purdy time. In the second half, they came out in a completely different set in the first half, and they stopped bringing that pressure, and that's what allowed your corners to look as shitty as they did. I didn't understand it, but I didn't think that the linebacking core had that awful of a game. I thought Brian Branch had a great game. Outside of that, the rest of the secondary.
Brian Branch only played half the defensive snaps yesterday?
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Yeah.
I don't understand that either. I don't think you could have asked for much more from your defensive front than what they gave you yesterday. It was just a consistent. Cam Sutton and Vildor got burned so many times. The one over the middle is burned into my brain, and Sutton was 7 steps behind Ayuk. 7 steps behind. And it was all day long. Gardner-Johnson, I don't care if they re-sign him or not. He's more of a noise. And didn't step up in the big game that they brought him there for. I don't know. But I don't want to blame the linebacking core. I didn't think that they had an awful game.
They weren't good.
Do we want to get into things going forward?
I'd love to.
Excuse me, I'm having a stroke. Yesterday was tough. Talk everyone off the ledge. Can I talk everyone off the ledge for a second, Bruce?
Have at it.
If at any point you want to go through a list of guys that are going to be free agents too, that would be awesome.
We have all of March to do that.
Okay.
So, like I said, I was with people that were in tears because people looked at it as if we're never going to get back here. Because that's how 91 was. It's like, enjoy it because you might not ever get back. And then sure enough, it took another 33 years to get back. I don't believe that. I think this team is set up for some crazy success for the next 5 years, maybe more. I think yesterday it happened for a reason. I think it needed to happen. I feel like yesterday needed to happen because you need to learn how to win in this league, but you also need to learn how to lose. And more importantly, you need to learn how to correct the mistakes that made you lose. And if you don't have yesterday, you don't learn how to win in the big games when the time comes, if you don't know the blueprint for how yesterday went. So that's why the 49ers are what they are. They've spent 3 or 4 years since they were in the Super Bowl in 2020 tampering and tinkering to get to this point to where they can get a team to go back to the Super Bowl. They didn't panic when they were down at the half 24-7. Of course, I still think they backed into a win, and of course they needed endless things to go wrong for the Lions in order to get the win. But the 49ers didn't panic. And they did everything they needed to do, and you can't take away any credit from Ayuk or Brock Purdy or George Kittle or McCaffrey. They executed everything they needed to execute. Nick Bosa, the linebackers, Warner had a monster second half. They did everything they needed to do to be in position, and the reason they did everything they needed to do is because they had been in the Lions' position before, the position of choking games away, and they learned from it. And that's what I think this is for the Lions. I don't think this is 91. I don't think this is going to set the franchise back decades. The comparison, I have 4 really good comparisons. The first one I can think of is the 07 Red Wings. They choked away a series against the Anaheim Ducks, a team who they were better than. And they made some mistakes down the stretch. I think they outscored them in the series, and they ended up losing the series in the Western Conference Finals. The Ducks went on to win the Cup in 07. Guess what? The Wings came back, won it in 08 with one of the best teams all time in the salary cap era, and then almost won it again in 09. They learned from 07 so they can rectify it in 08. The 03 Pistons. They came out of nowhere. There was a slow build with the Rick Carlisle Pistons. Slow build. Then all of a sudden they were good. They still didn't have Rasheed at that point, but they were good and ready to compete. The 03 Pistons, they got swept by the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. Swept. They went back into the drawing board. They ended up getting Larry Brown. They acquired Sheed. They drafted Darko. It didn't really mean anything, but they did enough to get themselves in position to win in 04, and they shocked the world in 04. All because they learned from 2003. Another great example was the 2011 Tigers. Without getting their asses handed to them by the Texas Rangers for, I think it was 2 straight years. No, at least one. They beat the Rangers in 11, I think. Regardless, the 2011 Tigers had to learn from losing to the back-to-back World Series runner-up Texas Rangers, and then they were able to turn it around. They got swept in 2012, but they had to learn from losing in 2011 in the ALCS from the Rangers to get back to 2012. My favorite example is a recent one. It's Michigan football. I think last night's loss for the Lions was akin to Michigan's loss against TCU 2 years ago or a year ago. I think that's what it was. That's what I see it as in the equivalency scale. They were a team knocking on the door. It was a slow build to get there. All of a sudden, they were talented enough to compete, but the moment was too big for them. The moment was too big for the Lions yesterday, just like it was for Michigan in 2022. Well, I think that when you take that young core, the pillars of this team, other than Jared Goff and Alexander Anzalone, the pillars of this team are all on rookie deals. They're all acquired over the last 3 years. Hell, 4 of your biggest contributors are Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, and Brian Branch, and they're all rookies. And the guys last year, Hutchinson and Kirby Joseph, it's only their second year in the league. The year before that, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best receivers in the league. It's year 3 for him. Penei Sewell is the best tackle in the league. He's only going to get better. It's year 3 for him. Okay? The list goes on. Aleem McNeil, who was a fucking game wrecker yesterday. Year 3 for him. All of those guys are going to keep getting better. You're going to bring in another rookie class with the guy who I think is the best drafter in the league at the moment, in Brad Holmes. And you're going to get key contributors on day one. You have $61 million in cap space. None of the Final Four teams can say that. The team you played yesterday has 1.5 in cap space. The Chiefs are in the negative cap, and the Ravens are crunched against the cap because of Lamar's contract. Of course, you got to sign Jared Goff, and you got to give extensions to Sewell, St. Brown, McNeil, some of these other guys. But you have more cap space than a lot of teams in the league. You're a top 5 team with salary cap. Guys are going to want to come play here. They're going to want to see what's going on. And they're going to want to be with Dan Campbell, okay? I think this is the start. I think this is only the beginning, and it's only going to go up from here. And you needed yesterday to learn how to do things going forward, because you know damn well that all of those guys, that Sam Laporta is not going to drop that timely ball. If Josh Reynolds gets signed and comes back, and I really hope Josh Reynolds is back, that Josh Reynolds isn't going to choke the game away in the big moment, that J-Mo's not going to drop the ball in the end zone. That's all going to continue with a full off season of work. That bad taste in your mouth, you remember that for 54 weeks. The San Francisco 49ers that you lost to yesterday, they have been waiting for that opportunity longer than you have, because they had a bad taste in their mouth over the last 2 years. Whether they want to make the excuse last year that they should have won if their quarterback didn't get injured, or they want to make the excuse 2 years ago that they should have won against the Rams on the road. Regardless, they had been waiting for that longer than you, and their offseason, their last 2 off seasons, were meant to retool to get to this point to where they can graduate and go to the Super Bowl. And now they're here. So you are the Niners next year. Dan Campbell said it perfectly. It's not going to be easy to get back. It's going to be a lot harder. Everyone's going to want to take a piece of you. You're going to have a harder schedule. But I know, like, if there's one person I trust to correct this and learn from this going forward, similar to how he said we're going to use this as fuel when they were robbed against Dallas, I think Dan Campbell's going to use this as fuel. And going forward, you're going to see I'm going to book flights to New Orleans as soon as I can, March, whatever, when the flights open up. I'm going to book flights to New Orleans next year, because that's where next year's Super Bowl is. And I guarantee you, remember this. Remember this right now. I told everyone I was with last night, remember this conversation, because I truly believe the Lions are going to be in the Superdome next year, playing in the Superdome for the Super Bowl. I believe that with all my heart. And I think this is the beginning of something great. So it's not goodbye. It's that was fucking awesome. Let's see what you can do going forward. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that this is all different. This whole team, this entire year, this special ride that we've been on all year has been different from day one. This isn't same old Lions. Did they make a lot of mistakes yesterday? Yeah, but this isn't same old Lions. They're for sure going to be back. You don't have to worry about it. Just like the Wings came back in 2008, just like the Tigers came back to the World Series in 2012, just like Michigan football came back this year and won it all, just like the Pistons came back in 2004. I think the Lions, this incarnation of the Lions, is going to be back next year. I think they're going to have home field in that NFC Championship game, and I think they're going to go on to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and I think they're going to win it. I feel very good about it. I feel very confident about it. We've only just begun, and the best is yet to come. I promise you.
Fucking goddamn. Well said.
Amen.
What happened in Baltimore yesterday?
Yeah, let's move on. The Kansas City Chiefs are on their way back to another Super Bowl after beating the Baltimore Ravens 17-10. And I know that neither of you will probably agree with me, but I will say the only person that choked the game away harder than the Lions yesterday was none other than Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Who would like to start? Unless you guys want me to.
You go first and we'll fill in the gaps. Him and I have talked a lot today over here.
One, I thought the Chiefs defense played a very nice game yesterday. Best game they've played probably in 2 or 3 months. They took a good performance the week prior and capitalized on it and played an even better game yesterday and shut down a very potent offense. Number two, the Ravens defense, which was touted as one of the best in the league. I didn't think they had an awful game, but they definitely didn't play to their potential. Obviously, they held Kansas City to nothing in the second half, and I thought that was good. but I don't know if you guys remember a couple weeks on this show when we talked about MVP candidates, and I said that I thought Lamar Jackson was not only replaceable, but one of the more replaceable quarterbacks in the playoffs. And, you know, I was thinking about it. We give a lot of flack to Josh Allen for not winning the big game. And they showed a stat yesterday. Lamar's 2-4 in the playoffs. And every year he has a great defense. And every year he's highly touted as this great running quarterback. And
usually he's not even playing at this time of the year, though. The last 2 years, he hasn't even been playing at this time of the year because he's been hurt.
Well, he's been in the league for 6 seasons, and he's 2-4 in the playoffs.
Once again, the last 2 years, Huntley fucking finished the year out for him, remember?
He, as a starter, is 2-4 in the playoffs.
Okay, one more time. Huntley, last year, and I believe the prior year, is they were playing instead of Lamar. He hasn't been to a championship game since what? They lost to the Patriots? Am I wrong on that or no? Deflategate? Isn't that the last time he's actually been to an AFC championship game?
AFC championship game. That was the first AFC championship game it looks like he's ever played in.
That was Lamar's first AFC championship game.
Huh?
That was Lamar's first AFC championship.
Am I right on that or no? But they haven't been back there since then, no?
Yeah, that was his first AFC championship game.
That's the first.
That's what I'm saying. But he's been hurt. He hasn't even played in the AFC championship games prior to that.
They didn't
because they were getting bounced out.
Yeah.
Prior to that, the last 2 years he's been hurt.
But they hadn't made another AFC championship game.
Correct. But this is why they brought in their new coordinator, was to make Lamar kind of seize the moment. Hey, the guy played great all year. Okay, this is the shittiest game I've seen him play all year. Was fucking yesterday.
They just did this thing like I talked about it a long time ago. They did this thing, this cat and mouse game where they played to their opponents. Like, yeah, they blew some teams out here and there. They blew the Lions out. They did a number on the 49ers. They did some damage here and there, but there were games against lesser teams where they would choke it away. Like they had a bad loss to the Browns. They had a bad loss to the Steelers, and those teams weren't really that good. I mean, the Browns were okay, and it was in Cleveland, but they played this cat and mouse game all year. And when you're playing the Chiefs, you cannot play cat and mouse. And let me give you a cat and mouse moment. I think this is on coaching. I think this is on, I don't know who their offense was. Tom Munkins, their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And John Harbaugh. I think this is on them. You're down 17-7. You're knocking on the door. You have the best kicker in football. Why are you telling him to force a throw into the end zone? Why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Play for the points. Run the ball, which is what you do well. If you get stopped, let Justin Tucker kick it, make it a one-score game. Your defense did its job.
Let's be honest. The Zay Flower fumble, that fucking crushed.
How about the Zay Flower penalty?
That crushed.
How about the Zay Flower penalty? That puts them at the 5.
Yeah.
You know?
And then
I mean, it was bad. Those are bad. I mean, the fumble's tough because it's a tough play. He's diving for the end zone.
Turnover. Listen, they're talking about removing that. They need to leave that the fuck alone.
No, don't touch it.
Leave it the way it is.
Why do anything to go against the defense? Why would we not help the defenses?
I just don't. I don't get it. The defenses already got their fucking hands tied.
Sam, I don't think anything yesterday was indicative on just Lamar Jackson being asked.
He was dog shit yesterday.
Yeah,
he was.
that wasn't the only thing though. And your defense, if you hold the Kansas City Chiefs to 17 points, it should win, especially at home, especially when you have one of the better offenses in football and Mark Andrews is back. I don't think it was just Lamar Jackson. I thought the play calling was brutal.
Yeah, they didn't use Likely at all. What did he catch? One ball?
They didn't use Likely enough. I don't think they used Lamar's legs enough. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Lamar. He was bad. He missed a lot of shit yesterday. And when he was on, his receivers weren't on.
Travis Kelce caught 11 balls.
The story is the Chiefs. The story is the Chiefs, in my opinion. They, what more can you say?
They show that they have the most experience out of any team in the playoffs right now.
I don't think Mahomes was some crazy asshole yesterday, but he's going to always give you enough to win. Even when they lost games this year, did he look defeated? Yeah, but he wasn't the reason, you know? And Travis Kelce's coming on at the right time all of a sudden. Their defense, now that it's healthier, now that Bolton's back, I mean, they're playing a lot better than they have been. Chris Jones looked incredible yesterday. I thought Chris Jones really stood out yesterday. I don't know about you guys.
You know, nobody's talking about they were playing without their best offensive lineman yesterday.
Yeah, they were.
And they were pretty fucking solid against
What's Joe Tooney's
probably
prognosis?
the best defense in playoffs was the Ravens. I thought they were.
Sam, what's Tooney's prognosis?
He'll be back in time for the Super Bowl.
I mean, yeah, they didn't play with their best offensive lineman, and they still played well.
Oh, yeah.
The story's the Chiefs, and Uncle Sam's been right about this. I credit to him. He's been saying it for a long time.
Yeah, playoffs go through.
I don't think they were that good. I just think that no one wanted to grab the ring in the AFC, and the Chiefs are always going to be consistent, and that's what they were yesterday.
Thought, you know what? They got lucky. They got lucky. They faced a Dolphins team that was decimated.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
the Bills, nobody's scared of the fucking Bills.
The luck matters. The luck factors. Yeah. You need luck to get this far. The 49ers played the two luckiest games in a row. The 49ers backed into 2 wins, and here they are. They're in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs went into Baltimore. Like, you can't take any credit from them. The Chiefs went into Baltimore.
Went into
Buffalo, too, and they won both of those games. People were saying, can Mahomes win on the road? I mean, at what point do we start having the conversation on Mahomes? What point do we start having he's easily number 2, right? Not even up for debate. Not even we're not debating that he's number 2 all time for quarterbacks.
I think he needs a little more success here.
Who's number?
What's he going for? His third
Super
Bowl?
Who's number 2 for you? Peyton Manning.
Well, I still think Peyton Manning. Montana, Manning.
I think this dominance that Mahomes is on and how they've done it differently.
Eli Manning.
How they've done it differently every time. I think this dominance, it has to be accounted for. If he wins, come on. He's 26, 27, and he'll be at 3, and he'll have played in what? This is his 4th Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
He's only got 1 loss?
Yeah.
I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
That's some shit. And then I swear to God.
Kyle Shanahan should have beat him the first time, and he didn't. He's going to get another shot at it. So we'll see.
If that's the incarnation, you can't hope for those kinds of mistakes out of the Chiefs when you play the Chiefs that the Lions gave up yesterday. If that's the incarnation of the Niners that shows up against the Chiefs, they're not going to back into a win. The Niners have to play a
Zolo
perfect
was switching
game.
the camera so nice the last episode. You know, when one of us would start talking, he'd actually put the fucking camera on. It was so nice.
Why am I going to do that if you're both talking at the same fucking time?
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I mean,
go ahead. Hey, guess what? That's what happens.
You're the one that holds the GOAT meter over there in Florida. Is Mahomes in that conversation yet? Can he at least be number 2? Do you agree with me yet or no?
I would have Mahomes at 3 right now.
Who's 2?
Montana.
Fuck the 49ers.
I agree. I mean, I don't love Montana, as we know, but he's this is the thing. So if we want to talk GOATs, right?
He's this generation GOAT. I think he's better than Brady.
Skill-wise,
absolutely.
For sure. It's not even debating that.
I don't think there's a lot of guys you could say have his skill level right now. Montana didn't have it.
Mahomes,
the only one close maybe is Manning.
That edge that Brady played with, that incomparable competitive edge, Mahomes is the only one in the ballpark with Brady. And I don't know if he'll ever pass Brady. I don't think he ever will pass Brady in that regard, that fucking edge and that feistiness. But Mahomes is the only quarterback I've seen in that ballpark. You know, even Peyton Manning didn't have that. Peyton Manning was the leader and did it on skill and making the right throw at the right time. Brady just had this edge, and I see it in Mahomes. Mahomes has willed them to get to this point. And
it reminds me a lot of Dan Marino was like that too. He would just make that play when it had to happen, and he would shoot it from anywhere on the field. He had that ability too, and I just don't think you see it no more.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, for me, Tom Brady was the only one to create 2 dynasties. So he did it in 2 different dynasties with 2 completely different teams.
The Bucks were not a dynasty.
No.
No, the second Patriots dynasty.
Fair.
There's a 10-year gap in there. And if Mahomes can, hypothetically, if Kelsey steps away and, Andy Reid retires and you get a changing in the guard there and he can still do this, then I would agree with you that Mahomes has a shot for number 1.
Yeah, because if you look at Brady in his first 3 Super Bowls, half those guys weren't even on the fucking team when he went into the second stint. They had revamped their whole team before they went on that second run.
The best
those
Patriots
guys were
teams,
Welker was gone. All them fucking guys were gone.
The best Patriot teams were the young Gronk, young Hernandez, Welker, and Moss. Like that was the best Patriot team. The 0-17 or whatever it was, the 0-16.
Ones that didn't win.
And they didn't win. That was their best team. That's the best team Brady ever had. I don't think they won the first 3 because of Tom Brady. In fact, if I remember correctly, 3 out of 3 of them ended with an Adam Vinatieri field goal. And I'm not saying Adam Vinatieri was the MVP of the team. The second Patriots dynasty that you're referring to was Tom Brady. And it was all Tom Brady. It was willed by Tom Brady. He brought ragtag guys and par defenses to the Super Bowl, and he won.
Body bag of Gronkowski.
Yeah. And he won because of him, because of his competitive edge. Those first couple teams were pretty loaded defensively, and they had some playmakers.
In the second stint, the Seattle game, that was nothing that they did. It was more of what the Seattle didn't do. The Atlanta game, they blew a fucking huge lead, just like the Lions did. So, you know what I'm saying? At the last 3 Super Bowls they had in New England were a little bit questionable, I would say.
I'm going to say something disgusting that's going to piss a lot of people off, by the way.
Good.
This is going to piss a lot of people off. You ready?
Good.
I'm pulling for the Chiefs.
Why would it piss anybody off?
Everyone, you don't know this because you're not as connected as the young people, and you're not as big in social media.
Nobody wants the Chiefs.
Nobody wants the Chiefs to win.
Nobody.
Right.
They're one of the most hated sports teams of all time right now at the moment.
Okay, I don't.
Actually, nobody wants this Super Bowl at all.
Don't
No one wants
understand it, don't care. They've been a very good franchise the past fucking 30 years that I know of. They've always been very good.
I think they should be rewarded for this run. And I think if they play well enough,
they're gonna have
one they've actually worked for.
No, they've worked for all of them.
Crawled for.
They've worked for all of them.
From behind.
Listen, going on the road in the playoffs and pulling out fucking 2 wins in 2 tough places is not easy.
No.
Especially in Buffalo, especially in Miami, in a fucking monsoon. I mean, I don't know. Listen, if you really sit back and you think about it, if Detroit would have won that fucking Dallas game like they should have, the 49ers would have had to come to fucking Detroit, and I guarantee you that outcome would have been different.
I don't disagree with the old man. That's.
What do you think of that? Put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it, Lumen.
Bro, E40 wasn't even at the game yesterday. E40's from Oakland. He's not a Niners fan. He's probably a Raiders fan.
If you know who E40 is, he's not old enough to fucking
Sam,
know what I know.
I know we've basically cut you out of the show, but please speak up. We need to know you're there.
Don't worry, I'm still present.
Do you hate what we're saying?
Despise it wholeheartedly, but I'm scared to talk because my uncle will just shoot me down and cut me off again. So
that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Gun to your head, who would you want? You have to pick someone. Who would you rather win, the Chiefs or the Niners?
San Francisco, without question.
Ugh.
I want to watch Mahomes.
Because he has.
I want to watch Mahomes bleed out on the field.
What do you hate about Mahomes?
I don't understand.
I fucking hate him. I can't stand him. I couldn't stand the little fucking stunt he pulled on Justin Tucker, one of the game's most respected players.
What was that about?
Apparently, Justin
What was
Tucker
that?
does that to every team, is what I saw.
Yeah, they were only doing that. Mahomes and Kelsey were doing that for a reason. They didn't just come out and say, we're going to fuck with Justin Tucker during warm-ups today. There was a reason that they did that.
It's a tactic from Justin Tucker, and it's bullshit. And the Chiefs were the only ones to actually do something about it, rather than just let it happen.
Bruce, I think we could hear you better if you took Mike Dana out of your mouth. But anyways, Listen,
Get Purdy
got his
out
little
of, get
spit
Purdy
bottle.
out of your
Fact-
mouth, and then maybe that'll happen.
the fact that you guys actually want to push this Chiefs, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce fucking narrative,
Taylor Swift
Uncle
out of
Sam,
the
you of all
equation,
people, because the one thing that I hated about watching the games yesterday was if the Lions would have won that, the Lions wouldn't have been the story. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are still the story.
She might not make the game, brother.
They already calculated it. I was watching the video today. So if she leaves immediately after the concert in Tokyo, she'll be in Vegas by 3:30 p.m.
Hey, that's what I thought. I thought if I left by a certain time, I'd be in Houston by 4 p.m.
Yeah, but it's Taylor Swift. They're gonna
The PJ won't divert. And the NFL will get exactly what they want, and the Chiefs will win, and Travis Kelce will drop down to one knee after he wins his last Super Bowl and propose to Taylor Swift on midfield, and then finally we won't have to watch this circus again next.
I wish I can agree with you on the narrative, but it's not Taylor Swift's fault that Travis Kelce has over 100 yards in all 3 games and he had 2 did he have 2 touchdowns yesterday or 1?
1.
It's not Taylor Swift's fault that Kelsey's fucking balling right now. You know? Yeah, she's going to show up to games because she was the biggest pop star. She's literally one of the biggest musicians of all time.
How is that, dude? How is she such a big pop star? She's dog shit.
Her music.
All right? It's a joke, dude.
People love her music and
whatever.
her messaging.
She's a fucking joke.
Creative.
Flat ass, flat titty. Fucking, you know what? I seen pictures of Travis Kelce's ex-girlfriend. She's fucking smoking. And to go from that to Taylor Swift, you know what that is. It's a fucking money grab. So guess what? He better sign his little fucking $30 billion prenup and get it while he can get it now. Because after this Super Bowl, he's planning on retiring. He better fucking marry her now. He better marry her now. Because if not, that fucker will die broke.
She's a billionaire, so I don't think he has to worry about dying broke. They broke up. He'd be taking her money. He ain't shit.
That's what I just said. He fucking doesn't marry her. He's done. You know?
Dark Lumen says, haha, she is flat. This is true.
She's flat. Her ass is flat. She got no titties, okay? Let's be honest, okay? She got bird titties.
Dark Human says, mid. Good music to cry to, though.
Anyways, I hope that San Francisco absolutely destroys them. Absolutely fucking annihilates them. I hate the Chiefs. I still think the Chiefs had the easiest road to the fucking Super Bowl. They played a destroyed Miami team. They played Josh Allen, who's a choke artist, and they played the biggest choke artist of all time, one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league right now, we talk about the moment being too big. The moment was too big for Lamar yesterday. He fucking choked. He was panicked the whole game. Couldn't get he had no fucking pocket presence whatsoever. He was the reason why they lost. At the end of the day, the Chiefs, to me,
you're broken,
made it here with the easiest path out of everyone.
Your broken Miami team couldn't go into Buffalo and beat Josh Allen.
Hold on. The Chiefs had the second easiest path. The 49ers had the easiest path because they required 2 teams to choke in order to get in. Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't disagree with you there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as far as the Ravens go, I think the Ravens shot themselves in the foot more than they were beaten up by Kansas City. I mean, come on, dude. They shot themselves in the foot, dude. Listen, they had a rough way to go in their first 2 possessions. Kansas City came out. They dominated the line of scrimmage. But then as it played in, it was a closer game than that.
In the second half, they drove the ball really nicely.
Yeah,
in the
they
second
were
half.
moving. It's not like
the Chiefs didn't score. The Chiefs were shut out. It was 17-10, right?
They didn't.
Or 17-14.
They didn't score the second half.
Didn't score.
No.
What was the final score in that game?
17-10.
17-10. They literally had shut the Chiefs out in the second half.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, they shut each other out.
Hire Mike McDonald, Commanders.
What's that? What was that, Sam?
They shut each other out besides the Baltimore field goal in the second half.
Right. And that's what happens when you fumble the ball through the fucking end zone.
That game was so good in the first half, too.
Hey, it was a hard-fought game, a little sloppy at times, but, you expect more out of Lamar Jackson. I totally agree. I expected more out of him. I expected him to be fucking the MVP.
On that stage.
And he wasn't.
On that stage, you need more. At the end of the day, you need more out of Lamar Jackson. Even if it's just a little more, you needed more out of Lamar Jackson. And that was ultimately the difference.
Absolutely.
Because Mahomes he didn't play out like.
No,
it's not a game we circle for Mahomes yesterday. They're doing it the way they've been doing it. They're running the ball.
I thought Baltimore should have ran the ball more. Instead of leaving it up to Lamar to just run around and wait for somebody to get open downfield. That was dog shit. That's the offensive coordinator there. That was dog shit bullshit.
For the record, Lamar Jackson has 12, count them 12 turnovers in his 6 playoff games to 9 total touchdowns. For the record.
Say that again?
He has 6 fumbles and 6 INTs in his playoff career to 9 total touchdowns.
That's not good.
And a QBR of 72.
I think Brett Favre had more turnovers in the playoffs than he did. So, but Brett Favre also won a fucking Super Bowl. So,
amen.
Yeah. So, the story is written now. So you got both of these teams going to Vegas to play. A lot of coaching shit going on right now. I heard Ben Johnson and what's his name, the defensive coordinator, are both going to Seattle today.
The Seattle's coming here. Seattle's coming here. They have
interviews. Yeah.
In person.
They're doing in person here in Detroit. That's nice.
The only imminent concern is Ben. They say that the Commanders have been waiting for Ben Johnson, but
correct.
They might decide. They're
That's
still
tomorrow.
casting their net, and they might decide we don't like what we saw from Ben Johnson yesterday. And Mike McDonald is also a finalist, and Mike McDonald's been painting a Rembrandt all year, including yesterday. He was pretty decent yesterday. It was holding the Chiefs to 17 points, so they may make a decision. And Mike McDonald wouldn't have to go far. He's already in Maryland, so. But it sounds like their ownership has liked Ben Johnson from the start, and it's his job to lose. So we'll see how these second interviews go. Every finalist, there's no finalist coaches on the Chiefs or 49ers staff. No one on their staffs have interviewed for the Seattle or Washington jobs.
I thought that coordinator for the Niners did.
Steve Wilkes, the coordinator? No,
the offensive coordinator.
I thought Kyle Shanahan calls the plays.
No, but their coordinator. I don't know.
Regardless.
Anyway.
There's
like I said,
a lot to like.
We'll see what happens. I just want to see Ben Johnson have good luck. Good luck to you, bud. That's all I can say. Good luck.
I want Ben Johnson to stay.
I don't.
I think he does stay, to be honest with you. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I wouldn't be shocked. Go ahead. We've cut you off the entire day. Go ahead.
I think there's a part of him that probably wants to try to run it back. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Does he really strike you as the solid head coach? Does he strike you as a true head coach? I think he's going to be one of those guys that's better off an offensive coordinator. For some reason, I think that the fact that Washington wasn't all over it today like we expected them to be kind of says something to that narrative.
I think Aaron Glenn's a better prospect than he is.
For a head coach, yeah. Aaron Glenn's a motivator of men. We don't know that because we're not in the locker room and we don't hear enough about Ben Johnson. People have been saying it for years that he's a good leader and all that. I haven't seen it. So I know, like, I don't want to say like I wholeheartedly disagree with what you're saying. I know your sentiment and where you're coming from. And I wouldn't be shocked if they're sitting there right now licking their chops thinking we should run it back. I think Aaron Glenn's going to be back. I know he's got the in-person with Seattle, but I truly believe Aaron Glenn's going to be back. And I wouldn't be shocked if Ben Johnson waits one more year. Is Washington that good of a job to leave for? Is it that, like, everyone else has turned it down, and their process hasn't been great. So is it really the job? Is that the job you want to leave for? I think there were better jobs.
The only guy capable of going into Washington and turning that around. I mean, let's be honest.
Bill Belichick.
It's not a guy who's not got any head coaching experience. You can't do that to one of these young guys. You'll fucking ruin them. You need somebody that has experience of Vrabel, somebody that's been a whole head coach. Otherwise, you're fucked.
I agree.
I think Vrabel's the perfect guy for that Washington job. I think you have to bring in a Vrabel or a Belichick. I agree 1,000% with you.
Vrabel's a fit with both jobs.
Yeah, you're walking into a shit show in Washington, and you need a guy. You don't want the guy who walks into the shit show for it to be his first rodeo. You want somebody to go there and kind of sweep up the mess that's already been there before.
Right. And I think the Seattle job is actually a lot better than that. I mean, you're walking into a team that all you really need is a quarterback. I mean, you got a solid defense, good receivers, good running backs. All you got to do is go in there and get yourself a quarterback that can actually be consistent, and then you're all right. Yeah?
I agree.
What do you think?
To me, the Washington job is not what I would leave for if I was Ben Johnson. Not when you're going into another year with Super Bowl potential and you walk out the door to go essentially put yourself in the guillotine. Because, I mean, that ownership group in Washington, they're going to want results, and they're going to want results quickly. I don't think they're going to offer somebody a 5-year deal like a lot of these other teams have. I don't think you'll have that long of a leash like these other teams have. I think that they saw flashes this year of what they could be, and I don't think they're that close. Going into next year, I don't think any of us think that Washington is really competing in that division. So if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm hesitant about that job. Not as hesitant about Seattle, because I kind of agree with you there too. I think that they're realistically, if Geno Smith is gone, they're a quarterback away, which I think that's what's going to end up happening. And you could actually build something there. Washington seems like such a mess that I don't know. I really think you're going to want veteran leadership, personally. And if I'm Ben Johnson, right, like if Detroit's going to keep me and you have the chance to run this back, if they go out and get some offensive line, they have to do things, and we'll talk about that throughout the next month, but they got to do things in the draft process to strengthen this up and maybe reel Ben Johnson in a little bit and help him out with his third quarter woes. And they would be well on their way to the exact same spot they were this year, as Zolo said.
Listen,
so I don't have an issue if he stays. And if he goes, I think that his heir apparent would be a very good fit. Either way, I'm not too concerned about the offensive coordinator situation.
Yeah, I just, you know what? All these guys have done a good job in Detroit here. They've done a decent job here. They developed as young guys, and that's something that the coaching staffs in the past have been not able to do, and that's develop their draft picks, develop these guys. McNeil's developing real nice. They got some guys that are here that can play football. They just got to continue to develop their skill level, and that's going to be huge for them. Going to be huge for them. Now, whether Ben Johnson is here or any of these guys are left here, it's irrelevant. I mean, you still got to continue to bring guys in to teach these guys that are going to be crucial for the development of them.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that. How do we feel about this Kansas City situation? I know we talked about it briefly last week, but you think if Andy Reid wins this one, he's done?
I think so. I think he's had enough. It doesn't look like he wants to coach anymore, to be honest with you.
How old is he? 60 what?
I don't know how old he is. He's not in the greatest of shape. He looks like he needs to just go eat a burger somewhere, sit on the beach.
Right now, I don't.
You don't think he's done?
No.
You think Kelsey's done?
I don't think Kelsey's done anymore. I did a couple weeks ago.
He's retiring.
I don't think he's done anymore, though.
He's already said he's retiring. What's his brother?
Where did he say that?
He said that. He's retiring with his brother.
I've never.
He said that last week.
He did not
He didn't say
that.
that.
Oh, I thought I had seen that he said he was going to retire. I seen
Listen,
a little fucking article.
you
I seen a glimpse of it. I didn't actually read it.
I think especially if they win the Super Bowl, which is not, it's totally in the realm of the of possibility that they could win the Super Bowl. I think Kelsey could look at Mahomes and be like, you know, I'm playing a position that has longevity. Guys can play close to 40 if their brains aren't mush. And yeah, this year sucked, but all it proved was in a year that sucks, we could still win a Super Bowl. Let's see what else we can do with a team that might be better and healthier next year. I think that's what that's trending towards with Kelsey. Is that an odd take?
No, like I could see a situation where they run it one more time. Like I could definitely see that, but I would also not be shocked because if we want to break this down like this, yeah, Kelsey's best 3 games of the year have been these 3 playoff games. Like realistically, that's what it is. So
well, it was that one weekend at tight end,
Chicago,
tight end, whatever. He had the huge game.
He was good against Chicago.
Yeah,
the first Taylor Swift game, TS1.
How banged up was he or disconnected or whatever all year to where the Chiefs did have a shitty season? Like a shitty season by Chiefs standards. Like what was going on? Because Travis Kelce's never been that guy who turns it on and off, and it was off for a good portion of this year.
Yeah, but I think by him not having the huge games helped Rice to develop. Because Mahomes was actually looking for him.
Imagine an extra year with Rice. They go find another tackle to replace whoever's on the right side there. You get an extra year with Rice, who's his sophomore year. He's a year later. You still have Kelsey. Okay, you go find another receiver, which they've needed all year. You have Pacheco or whoever else is running behind that line. Like, why wouldn't they want to, hey, let's maybe run it back again? Why wouldn't they want to do that? You know? That's just my 2 cents.
With Andy Reid gone, that changes a lot of things, I think, for a lot of people.
But if there's continuity with the staff, like when Jimmy Johnson was gone, they didn't pack it up with Barry Switzer. They fucking started running it again. You know?
No, they probably give Spagnuolo that
weren't able to win it.
What'd you say about Spagnuolo?
I think he'd get the head coaching job.
Yeah. You know, you promote from within.
Maybe.
You promote from within.
Unless somebody else decides to go there.
He wouldn't do that to me. He wouldn't make me root for that.
Maybe Nick Saban. Maybe Bill Belichick. What better situation for him to walk into than that if Reid decides he wants to leave?
Yeah, but I don't think Bill Belichick would do that to me. He wouldn't make me root for the Chiefs.
They're 2 different guys. Him and Andy Reid are 2 different animals there.
Mahomes and him would not get along.
Anyways, does anybody have anything else to add for today?
I'm good.
Pretty much sums it up. I mean, I don't know. What else we say here?
Amen to that. And with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Make sure to follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. If you're listening to us on Apple Music or Spotify, make sure to check us out on YouTube and remember to subscribe and ring the bell so you know when we go live. Join us in the chat and talk us up Monday and Friday between 4:30 and 5. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back on Friday with a little Super Bowl talk, wrap up some coaching carousel stuff, talk about the Lions' future a little bit, and then before you know it, it's time to get in the draft. So stick with us. We'll see you on Friday.